June 5th, 2006. This is Diehard Gamer Radio, Episode 8.
You are listening to Diehard Gamer Radio, the source for off-mainstream video game news and topics. Now your hosts, Murdock, Brian, and John.
Well, welcome back to Diehard Gamer Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Murdock, and as always, I have Brian and John, and we have a new compatriot with us. Say hello to our good friend Steve.
Hi.
I guess so. That's the normal us plus one.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
like the Three Musketeers.
4 for you. Not so much.
So now you can listen to 4 guys whose voices sound so much familiar, and you're like, was that Steve? Was that John? Who was that?
Nobody knows. Oh my god.
We need subtitles.
Yeah.
We'll just add those at the bottom of the broadcast. It'll be no problem.
At some point, we'll make these all into Flash animations, and then you'll be able to tell.
It'll be like Mallrats, suitor number 2.
Yep.
What do you feel about?
How do you feel about we?
I love my
Well,
Wii.
I think that Shannon Doherty's great in that one.
You played with your Wii 47 times in a row? Oh, great.
Not all at once.
In a row?
All right, so...
Hey, try not to play any Wii on the way to the... Yeah.
You know what he's talking about.
Don't give me more to edit! Okay. So, anyway, we're going to go straight into our news bits. And our first news bit, the DS Lite street date is broken. It was supposed to come out on the 11th, but it broke last week, and our good friend Brian was actually able to snag one from a Target, right?
It broke its selected targets. I don't know if those targets knew it was breaking, but it definitely broke.
So, how did you get your DS?
Well, one of the sites I frequent, NeoGeo.com, is known for finding little ways in and around things, and somebody posted on there a unique code, and it turns out it's the code for the item within Target's system. And they posted on there that if you take this code and you go pick somebody, not somebody in camera and sound or whatever their department is, or the electronics specifically, but you go pick somebody like Housewares intentionally and tell them, yeah, can you look up and see if you have this code in the back, see if you have this item in the back, and more often than not, these people don't know what's going on with this product. They'll literally walk into the back of the store, find it, bring you one out, and then go sell it. And if it's in their system, it's ready for sale, so it doesn't stop you at the register from buying it. So that's what I did, and that's how I got it. Worked like a charm.
So lying, that's a good method here.
No, I didn't lie. I asked them if they had this item. They said yes. They said, would you like one? I said yes. Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cut and dry. I didn't feel guilty about it.
There was no falsehood used in this plan. It was a deliberate application of creative truth.
So, now how are you liking the DS Lite so far?
It's great. I'll go more into it when we do the reviews later, but it really is, it's worth it.
Okay. So, next news bit, SNK Play More USA releases its future plans, and I'm just going to go over the announcements that I have on my screen. First of all, the developers are looking into how to use the Wii controller in Metal Slug Anthology. So,
So, along fire, jump, fire, jump, fire, crouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Along with every other third-party company out there.
Next one for SNK is Metal Slug 6 will not be included in the Metal Slug Anthology. However, the game will likely appear in a Nintendo platform because 2D games are not suitable for PS3 and Xbox 360. Their words, not mine.
Oh, wah. We're all about 3D now. We can't have your piddly 2D games.
I'm pretty sure it's because they
work on those.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's because they pay 1/10 as much for the Wii dev kit as they do for the PS3 and the PSP dev kit. It's not like SNK is all about the volume these days.
And SNK is not about originality much anymore either. That's
Obviously
why they
going
keep
for
pumping out older games and re-revising them for newer systems, especially when you put it on 5 consoles.
Yeah.
Next, Sony has rejected a number of their 2D projects for PlayStation 2 because they do not correspond to the graphics standard. No big surprise. Those are Sony's words, by the way.
Well, are they still doing that? Because, I mean, at this point in the PS2 life cycle, there's all sorts of crap coming out for it.
Well, keep in mind that this is Sony of the United States. This does not necessarily reflect the views of Sony of Japan.
I'm just surprised that Sony is still doing that because there's a ton of 2D games for the PS2 now.
Well, those are used in dev kits they found in the trash somewhere.
Look at all the simple 2000s coming out for them all of a sudden. I mean, PlayAsia is just full. I mean, chocked full.
This is not the point when you're turning anything down.
Yeah.
Next from SNK, Metal Slug for the Game Boy Advance is a port of the first title in the series, and it comes out September 2006.
Oh, yeah.
So they're porting the first one rather than doing another original one?
Yes. Yeah.
It shows how popular they are. I mean, they will just continue to churn these out on every console possible, no matter how old they are.
They're not churning anything out at this point.
They're
just kind of turning it over and putting it on a B-side.
All I can figure is we now need Square Enix SNK. Because then, they can have an entire corporate entity dedicated to turning out the exact same game.
It's called Nintendo.
Well, keep in mind that it's already Square Enix Taito.
True.
Well, and, Taito is really known for their originality. I mean, let's see, this last version of Bust I Move I bought, it had one new game mode, I'm pretty sure.
It's going to be interesting when these games, or these companies rather, put out their assorted collections, and they'll be able to put Square Enix title all on one Blu-ray disc.
It's all going to be it's all going to be one company here in about 5 years. Watch.
Squido. Yeah.
Squido?
Squinto.
So next, SNK Playmore does not plan to release future titles for Xbox. No big surprise there. And the Wii will receive the most software support from SNK Playmore. Not big surprise there either. And the last bit of news about the SNK stuff is that the PS2 shooter Twinkle Star Sprites will not be published in the U.S. because there is no market for the genre.
Yeah.
Well, of course there's no market for the genre because you don't put it out!
You create the market.
Yeah.
Hello.
The market that was there 20 years ago.
Apparently, people just stopped playing shooters spontaneously one day.
Yeah.
Not because there weren't any shooters to play. They just all decided, ha!
Which means like 2,000, 3,000 people on shoot-em-up forums they really don't exist. These are schizo.
Well, here's the thing. It's strangely, though, Raiden 3 is coming out in this country. So...
Okay.
Well, maybe it's because it's more popular. I mean, Twinkle Star Sprites is kind of hard to market because, it's this niche shooter, but it's also got all these cute, girly graphics on it.
Well, it may be coming out in this country, but that doesn't guarantee you're going to see more than 2 copies pop up at your local GameStop.
It's not coming out.
Yeah.
Because it was actually canceled back.
Raiden 3 may come out, but it'll probably be like some of the last shooters that came out where there was like 2 or 3 copies if you were lucky that popped up.
Well, plus Raiden 3 has polygons, so it is not sprite-based.
Yeah.
Well, it's also not a port of a... well, speaking of SNK, of an MVS game.
Yeah.
Actually, Twinkle Star Sprites was canceled back in Christmas, too.
Okay.
I had a pre-order down for that on EB, and when I came back one day and went looking for it, there was just this blank spot on the list. Just, you have $5 on nothing.
Congratulations!
No! That means they get to claim it as their own anyway.
So if this is if it's a thing about being polygon versus sprite 2D shooters, maybe the key is just to make polygon shooters that look like sprite shooters, and you just get around the whole thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe we just need more Ikarugas.
Well, yeah, but then I wouldn't be able to play any shooters ever again because I wouldn't be able to understand what's going on.
Well, that's why they make the Super Play DVDs, because you can watch somebody really good play and still enjoy it.
It's like watching a movie, except not.
Oh yeah, the Radiant Super Gun Super Play, which is done in one credit. It's insane.
God damn it! Re-release that game, somebody.
Well, that would be treasure. But anyway, okay. Well, moving on. Next topic is developers have no idea what to do with the Wii. They just saw this whole new way to control games and what the hell?
Is this like a huge surprise?
No.
I mean, seriously, it's taken us We got an analog stick, and it was like 5 years later, we finally got some games that really figured out how to make good use of the thing.
Yeah. What am I going to do with a controller with 4 buttons?
Yeah, so I'm not really surprised about this, and I don't think Nintendo has any clue what to do with it either. And if all those drunken monkey jumping around your couch commercials are any indication.
Fun for the whole family.
The Wii controller from the department of it seemed like a great idea at the time.
Yeah. So, Nintendo will probably be coming out with a diarrhea simulation here in the near future.
I'm sure.
Because right now it looks like a lot of their ideas are based around sports games. Because it's like, okay, there's a sport, and you have this motion in this sport, and we'll translate it to the controller. We're not exactly talking like real leaps of creativity or working with the medium here.
No, but it could make hockey a little bit more fun.
Well, just wait until they get to the point where you have to stab people with it, and then, it'll be all done.
Yeah. So, next news bit, Metal Gear Solid to be made into a movie. Yui Boll is not directing it.
Thank God for small favors.
So,
but is it German produced?
Well, not that I know.
No, they can't get that.
That's why it doesn't have Yui Boll.
They can't get that tax write-off.
I know, that's why.
I don't know, maybe the Germans should do it. I'm not sure who else you'd get to do like a postmodern storyline like Metal Gear Solid is.
So, do we have any ideas of
it's got to be like, a French art film or something if you're going to get the right
choreographed
blend
by
of bizarre.
Yeah, this movie seems a lot like Leon. I don't know why.
So, any ideas who we think should star as Solid Snake?
It's just going to be like painfully hard to adjust to not hearing David Hayter. I mean,
that's true.
Anything past that, and I'm already just have no clue what's going to happen.
You could get Kiefer Sutherland. He's really good at shooting people.
But it's not going to be David Hayter.
Doesn't matter. But knowing Hollywood, it's going to be, Nicolas Cage, that's a great idea for Solid Snake.
Yeah. He can just come right off that Ghost Rider set and hop right into the role.
Hey, action heroes are all the same, right?
Yeah. So,
but who are they going to get to play Raiden?
Some effeminate white boy.
Oh, there's more than enough of those out there.
Is there actually anyone effeminate enough to play Raiden?
Ashton Kutcher.
He's got facial hair, though.
That can be fixed.
I got 2 words for you. Lasers. I got 2 words for you. Brokeback Mountain.
Lasers.
Yeah. Industrial Light and Magic's going to be, let's see. How many gigabytes does it take to get rid of facial hair? So, next topic. Nintendo begins selling all of their casual games under the Touch Generations label. And all this is that they're rebranding games like Brain Age and Sudoku, and they're going to rename them under the Touch Generations label for, I guess, to make it more appealing to the 30 to 40-year-olds who've never seen a video game system before.
So this is actually kind of apropos if you think about it. They're going from a product called the Wii to something called Touch
Generations.
I'm starting to notice a pattern
like a
here.
J-pop band.
It sounds like an excuse for pedo.
Yeah, it does. It's like brought to you by NAMBLA, the Touch Generations.
But so this is a player's choice for the DS then?
It's not even really a player's choice.
They're not even marking them down?
Not to my knowledge. They're just rebranding them.
Oh, joy.
Oh, thanks for that.
So
you're older. You've got money to spend on old games.
You're part of the Touch generation. Come play with us and our Wiis.
Yeah, so that's why Nintendo gets all the kid-friendly games.
Yeah. Apparently.
Just for kids.
Yeah.
Next news bit. The Wizard comes out on DVD August 29th, 2006. I have nothing to say on this.
Why did it take them so long to get to this? I mean, they've been running through, back catalogs for forever now. If we've got, Master of the Flying Deity, why do we already have the Wizard by now?
You're acting as if this is something you're looking forward to.
I'm just amazed there's still movies they haven't re-released yet.
This is true.
Next, a rumored Final Fantasy VII remake for the PS3. Gee, what a surprise.
Is this like the rumored Final Fantasy VII remake for the PS2?
Yeah. The one from the, look at this great, FMV thing. They're going to redo. Okay, insert square thing here.
This just falls into the line of, Phantasy Star Online and God knows what else has been remade for every possible system.
The question is, do I want to play Final Fantasy VII again?
Anyway, I mean, well, besides whether or not you want to play it again, I mean, seriously, can't you just play like Final Fantasy 13 and it's pretty much the same experience?
Or you know, buy Final Fantasy VII for $5 and play it in your PS2. Next, an Xbox handheld within 2 years. And this is currently a rumor off the Microsoft
wait a minute. I heard this
PR
rumor.
people.
Oh, wait a minute. It was almost 2 years ago.
Yeah. Last I heard, this was vociferously denied.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Today's word is vociferously.
I think part of this came out of the Xbox 360 revealed book that came out recently. Because that has had a lot of inside information about the development process and some of the things they looked at. And I'm sure that while Microsoft was making their new console, they were looking at making a handheld. They probably spent about 30 minutes on it, then looked at Nintendo and went, let's try and get that console market first.
Yeah. Next news bit, Infineon Labs changes its name to Phantom Entertainment. Now,
it's more fitting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's entertainment that you think is there, but isn't really.
So if
Come on, kids, use your imaginations.
So all they need now are like CEOs that aren't in jail.
Hey, one thing at a time.
Why aren't they bankrupt yet?
Because somebody really knows what they're doing.
Because they're a front for UCOS, really.
Well, what does the venture capital pitch have to be at this point? And they go up in front of a room full of people with money and go, we're going to, toss it in the garbage can. And
we've
then
got this really nifty keyboard.
Piss on it.
Yeah. We're going to smear poo on it.
Maybe that's the only employee they really have that's any good is the person that goes out there, CFO, and goes out and gets venture capital.
I bet he makes the most money.
Yeah, probably. Imagine. But he makes all the money. That's why there's no console, because he's taking it
he
all.
goes into the room and says, we need $20 million. He comes back and says, well, they give us 15.
Yeah.
All right, well.
What, he brings it out in his pants or something? And is it raising this from the mafia?
Yeah. He's got it all tied to himself underneath his clothes.
And suddenly he's leaving the country for 2 months. Nobody knows why.
Okay. So next news bit, and this one's just kind of a small bit of news. Xbox 360 gets Vision camera this fall, so you'll be able to play online and see millions of pictures of scrotum.
Yeah.
So is this going to be called the X toy? Because that's pretty much what it's going to be.
Is it really called the Vision camera?
Yeah.
As if there's a different kind of camera they could possibly be putting out?
No, it is called the Vision camera.
It's a camera for eyes.
Put your retinal scan here.
I can defeat it with a gummy bear.
Well, apparently from what Murdock is saying, and many other people are saying, apparently it's not a camera for your eyes. It's a camera for your crotch.
I bet that's not going to happen, though, because I'm sure that that's going to be on the server, so it's going to be a one-instance violation for Banination.
They're going to be banning a lot of people in the first month.
Yeah, but what if you put eyes
I don't
in
think
a
Microsoft
smiley
is
face
that
on
upset
it?
about it because, people pay for
fur.
the year at a time, then they get baninated.
Yeah.
And Microsoft takes their money, they sign up again. But it's not really a losing proposition.
Well, it's a losing proposition for when I'm playing something and all of a sudden there's balls there.
Well, then
and not the balls I'm playing.
Hey, Harry Balls, would you like to shoot the other team?
But just think of how much fun you get to have
kill,
when that
team
person
kill.
gets baninated and loses money for doing it.
Well, yeah, I wish you could just do that by killing them online, though. You sucked so bad we took your money and canceled your account.
Okay.
Of course, that would probably be me.
Notice that leads
Also-
right into our next topic.
Well, also, a problem with the camera, though, is they're only releasing it as a bundle. It's going to be bundled with Uno and a live subscription.
Uno?
Yeah,
Uno. Like the card game?
I know what.
card.
On Xbox Live Marketplace, you can play Uno. So
Okay.
if you already have purchased Uno or already
Right there
have
with
an Xbox
Bejeweled.
Live Marketplace,
Yeah, but I want to
why
play
you would want the
Bejeweled.
bundle, I don't know.
Well, maybe you'll want to play Uno,
I don't want
too.
to play Uno in real life. I mean, I could be playing with Hooters girls, and I still don't want to play Uno.
Uno is a great party game after a certain number of drinks, and everybody has
Yeah,
their
but
own.
everything's a good party game after a certain number of drinks. where
Exactly.
Drinks is X.
I mean, seriously, beer pong.
Well, plus,
I think it's called a frat party.
Yeah, but
Things bounce off walls.
a real Uno card deck is cheaper than this. So
Yeah.
Okay.
But it doesn't come with balls on
Yeah,
camera.
but it doesn't have vision.
Yeah.
Work
Well,
with me.
it
Or don't.
Yeah, it makes it kind of hard to play the game without vision.
Anyways, leading to our
We've
next
created
topic.
this new technology through your eyeballs called vision. Next, spam on Xbox Live. Gee, what a surprise! I'm shocked. Wow.
Yeah, that's
Wait.
damn annoying.
It'll
is
be
this
really
new?
perfect
Or
when you
This-
can
this is
report
new.
it.
What is this?
Because now people can go ahead and send Xbox Live messages much more easily with the 360, and it's always on, so they can just queue up for you.
So where does your spam show up?
You turn on your Xbox 360, and there it is on your dashboard.
And it's just random
It's
spam.
like email. Yeah, there was
Enlarge your penis now while playing games.
natural enhancement with herbs.
the article that came up for this is there's apparently a large run of Mission Impossible 3 ad spam that went around. Don't know whether or not Microsoft was actually involved in this one or not, or if some ad agency just had a really clever idea.
They can't see the quotes on the radio.
Well,
Yeah.
that's why we use the funny voices.
Oh.
Evil.
No, I'm sure Microsoft is cashing a check right now.
I don't know why Microsoft would want that to happen, though.
Because where else are you going to play your Xbox games?
I don't know. Then what are they going to offer an Xbox Live Marketplace purchase for a spam filter?
Yes. I do not see this as an
Well, I seem to
unlikely
remember
happening.
a certain company releasing an armor for a horse that got $3. Why not?
Yeah.
Hey, have you ever tried to buy horse armor? Costs more than $3, man. They're giving you a deal.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but you're
that's,
buying like
we're
a
talking
horse
real money
retexture.
versus imaginary money.
Okay.
Well, the money's real, the horse is fake.
So,
And you're screwed.
Yeah. Next, halogen lighting may interfere with Wii Remote.
Sounds like a brilliant
So
idea.
don't play in front of your headlights? What? Don't park your car next to your entertainment system?
I was playing with my Wii and my halogen lamp fell over and
It got burned.
yeah.
Yeah.
It hurt.
Set my apartment on fire and I couldn't play my game.
Chicagoans, they do nothing.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just because, halogen is pretty full spectrum and whatever it's using to communicate with those little pod things it has to talk to, it interferes
pod
with.
people.
And
So hopefully Nintendo can find a workaround before they actually release the system.
I wouldn't
not.
be surprised
I
if the
don't think
workaround is the warning in the front of the manual. Do not play in your halogen lights.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Which-
such a small thing, really.
Well, it depends if you got a halogen light next to your television or not. I don't want to
Turn it
redecorate
off.
for my console.
Well, people have done more for a console.
Yeah.
And last news bit is our good friends at Famitsu have turned 20 years old. So now we have 20 years of people bitching about video game scores.
Yay.
Bonsai.
Only 20 years?
Yes, only 20 years. Which is pretty good for a magazine that comes out weekly.
It's damn
Wow.
impressive.
It's
and
over
it's
600
not
issues.
called Newsweek.
Well,
I don't know. When we start seeing the like National Geographic numbers, then I'll be impressed.
Giving you video game scores since 1880.
Yeah, but they don't show boobs like from Africa in 300 countries.
yeah,
That is a downside.
Yeah. They should think of that.
yeah. All right, well, next we're going to go straight into our Famitsu scores, and we only have 1 week of scores. So for the week of May 18th, 2006, Samurai 7 for the PS2 gets a 27 out of 40. So, and that's based off a anime series, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, which of us is going to make the obligatory license game comment?
Go ahead, you do it so well.
Oh man, another sucky licensed video game.
Next, we have TT Superbikes for the PS2, 27 out of 40. So another mediocre sports title.
If they would have been nude women on bikes, that would have been so much better. I mean, it would have just...
Didn't work for Acclaim.
Well, okay, well.
Well, they weren't on motorbikes though. Maybe that was the critical
Maybe it's the
flaw
critical
in the
thing.
plan.
Yeah,
Although-
women with power equipment are so much more exciting.
Next, we have the new Super Mario Brothers, got a 36 out of 40, all nines.
Surprise.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be good.
Nobody rated it perfect, huh?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
When you played one Super Mario, you played most of them, but
Yeah.
you'll still buy another one.
Well, I can't get it all excited about it, but I know a lot of people really enjoy the mushrooms.
Shrooms.
Ultimate Spider-Man got a 27 out of 40 for the Nintendo DS, so another
Come on,
licensed
this is
game.
Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Apparently not ultimate enough.
No.
We need like
Seems-
super ultimate extreme triple X Spider-Man.
Seems thoroughly mediocre Spider-Man.
next, Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie for the Nintendo DS, got a 20 out of 40. That is the lowest score we've seen so far.
But it got a 39 out of 40 for being the second longest game title.
You can make the obligatory licensed game comment for this one.
Yeah, well, we already know it so well, but thank you, Peter Jackson.
Next, Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy in Itadaki Street Portable got a 32 out of 40, which is it's okay.
Tell us what it is.
It is a strategy game combining Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest characters. It's actually supposed to be kind of interesting and may come out in this country.
Does it have Itadaki Street in it?
Yes.
And what's on Itadaki Street?
Nothing. It's just
Girls.
a name.
Whoring!
Yeah.
And drinking! And more whoring!
Okay.
And final.
It's a fantasy game. It's got to have the whoring and the drinking and the
Drugs.
And last we have Magna Carta Portable. Got a 29 out of 40, and that is the role-playing game where the main male characters looks suspiciously female.
Which Japanese RPG are we
He's
talking about again?
heterosexual.
So in this one, do you actually construct the Magna Carta?
No,
Because
it
you're
is
a
no,
disgruntled gentry or what?
no. It has nothing to do with the historical Magna Carta.
I want
it's
to
too bad,
ambush
'cause
the
if they moved
king.
it to the
Yeah.
NES, they could sign it with the stylus and then make it official. No.
And then can you like stab the king afterwards?
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be a good use for that little
For good
sash.
measure.
Well, next we're going to go into our game topics, and our first topic is when was the last time a video game had you on the edge of your seats? And John introduced this topic idea for me. So what was the nexus of this idea, John?
Well, this comes up actually from a lot of the discussions that we've been hearing about, video games are ruining the youth of America. They're all going to turn into psycho killers and, I don't know, rape bunny rabbits or something. But part of this discussion that I thought was just fascinating is video games really have a long way to go before they're even as emotionally involving as movies are. I mean, you really expect to be, compelled and interested throughout the 2-hour run of a movie, but it seems so rare you hit a video game where you really get emotionally involved in it.
Well, I must add that it's kind of rare for movies nowadays, too.
Well,
I mean,
Because they keep putting out remakes.
I mean,
And they're no better than the originals.
Yeah, as cool of a title as Snakes on a Plane, I doubt I'm going to be very emotionally involved in the movie.
But even so, it'll still probably be, more interesting and make you jump more than your average, Snakes on a Plane video game would.
You shouldn't have said that. Someone has a license for it right now. How do I
don't
model
know.
a snake?
Maybe the Nintendo Wii controller is just what we need to get more emotionally involved.
No, it's just going to result in more broken office furniture.
Yeah. Well, they make really good controllers, though.
Yeah.
Probably take a beating.
So,
Oh, wait.
Whoa.
Danglements.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't.
Curious.
Nope.
Well,
But
I
so
can't
what
comment
was
on that.
what was the last video game that really had you excited about what was going on?
The only thing that comes to my mind had to be the last. Oh man, I think it was Resident Evil.
That's the same one I'm thinking of, Resident Evil 4.
You know what? And one of the best parts had to be Resident Evil 2 for me. I mean, it was that scene when you first went into the interrogation room where you could see through the two-way mirror and you saw where the prisoner would sit, and you would get in something, and you leave that room, you go back out to the main room, you come back, and now all of a sudden you've got the key for some reason, and you can get into the interrogation room itself. And you walk in there and you realize, oh yeah, this is the room I was looking through earlier to see, and then something breaks through the glass. I mean, I about pissed my pants right there. I was like, you've already got, your TV turned down to the darkest it can be because that's what they recommended at the beginning of the game to, add ambiance. It really pulled you into the game already, and then, it scares the crap out of you in the middle of it. I mean, that was just the best.
And Resident Evil 4 did that for me in a lot of places because there was just so much stress on those combat situations. You didn't jump
People
from like
coming
3
from
different
all different
directions,
directions,
and the difficulty was just so well balanced. You'd be just like barely squeaking through.
And a woman with a chainsaw doesn't help it. That scared the crap out of me.
The other
Grandma,
one,
put it down! No.
the other one I'd mention would be Fatal Frame. That one also did a really good job of atmosphere for me.
Yeah.
It's one of the few that I've really been able to get involved in. That was, what happened made me jump.
Yeah. How about you?
Well, but then, those games are, they put you on the edge of the seat because they're designed to be suspense games.
Yeah, but it gets
know.
you really involved in the game, though. The ambiance, the turning your TV down, the darkness.
Well,
I mean,
the question is,
really
can you name a game where you've been on the edge of your seat that wasn't a suspense horror game?
Yeah, I can. Metal Gear Solid.
What?
Metal Gear Solid.
What?
Metal Gear Solid.
What?
Just one more time for the folks at home.
I love that game.
I think the expression that John is making is, "Are you crazy?"
No, I like the game.
I like the game too, but I mean, sitting through like 3 hours of cutscenes is not something that leads to me getting really excited about it. I still wanted to know how the story was going to go, but I wasn't. Seriously, I knew I was going to have to wait through a whole lot
there
of
were some
talking.
points there where I was under that cardboard box. I just didn't know if I was going to make it across the room.
Stop it.
Boxes.
Yeah.
Smaller boxes.
I mean, a lot of the gameplay in Metal Gear Solid, I think, was really good like that, but the cutscenes just destroyed the pacing.
What was that?
Well, I'm also of a different style of gamer though than you.
He's the posh gamer.
Well, I totally agree with you that it's a good game. I just don't see how you can really get involved in that story and be like anxiously awaiting what's going to happen next.
Well, I mean, I did, but that's just me. So.
I mean, what, is he going to sleep with his sister? Yes. No. Do we really want to know?
There was another game that comes to mind.
Is that a game that appeals to the prurient interest of the gamer?
Yeah.
This may sound kind of weird, but there's another game that does kind of come to heart with this, and it was the ones that I imported from Japan originally was Bushido Blade. That was just, I think that was one that pulled me into it because it was so technically articulate. You could kill an opponent within one move, and it made everything you do and everything you thought about when you were fighting that opponent a little bit more careful. And when you did kill somebody in just one move,
but did you care about the guy who died? Or
no,
you just go like,
but I cared about how I was able to kill him and survive, and not get killed by one move myself. It wasn't the greatest game, but it was intense for certain moments there,
I think the problem for me really in being, being suspense or being on the edge of my seat in the game is there's movies and movies are going to last you 3.5 hours or something, and there's a constant motion of something going on in a good movie. There's a constant motion of stuff going on, and so you ride the whole thing through and you're kind of going with it. With a game, I mean, even if it's short, you're talking 7, 8, 9 hours, and you're getting it in small little chunks, and so you can be suspense. You can be in suspense on something for 5 minutes, and then somebody calls and I need a pop, and let me pause it and look up on GameFAQs because I really don't know what I'm doing here at this point. And so really it totally breaks out of the whole emotional thing.
Momentum, maybe.
Yeah.
And I think that's an excellent point because even for role-playing games that are traditionally where we have these good stories, at least for me, it's not until like the last 2 hours of the game that the story really kicks into high gear. You start caring about what happens to the characters, and everything's moving fast enough that you really want to sit there and see what happens next.
And you've gotten through all that tedious, monotonous battle, walk 5 feet battle.
The other 68 hours of gameplay.
Oh God, I only need 5 more battles to reach the next level. Battle.
So
each battle takes 14 hours.
So it's been a while since we've had a game really hold us to the edge of our seats. It'll probably be another couple of years before we find another one, unless it's a sequel to a game that we've already mentioned.
Well, and it's one that we always keep coming back to, but I think Shadow of the Colossus was actually pretty interesting for that, because even though it didn't have a strong story, it wasn't something that had me on the edge of my seat. I mean, the whole time I was playing through that, it definitely had a whole, interesting, setting and ambience going on, and I kept wanting to know how things were going to work out. And
did you have the same
I
feeling
wanted to
for
keep playing that
Eco
the whole time?
Eco.
Not so
Ico,
much for
Ico,
Eco,
yeah.
actually, because Eco, it was much more divided. I mean, you'd come into a room and you'd have to figure out the puzzles in that room, and then I'd walk away from it and I'd be done.
Yeah.
With Shadow of the Colossus, even though even though the monsters, it's following the same pattern throughout, it seemed like it was all much more of a seamless whole.
Not exactly a console game, but the one that I remember that I have to think back a long time was Seventh Guest. The Seventh Guest, I actually liked the plot. And I wanted to know what was going on in this house. I didn't know what was going on in this house, it's a puzzle game. So really, I mean, there's, like I said, there's these huge things in between when you're seeing the cutscenes, but yet there was enough of a mystery story going on there that I actually wanted to spend more time to finish this puzzle in order to know what was going on in the house.
And so something else that I think is worth mentioning about this here is that also all of these games we're talking about are none of the ones that any of the parents groups are caring about.
Yeah.
Any of those ultra-violent games, you don't care what happens to any of the characters. You're not involved in what's happening. You're pressing the button and watching some graphics and moving on.
You shoot another pimp and break another whore. It's just, part of the game.
Oh.
There's an unlimited number of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing enticing there.
So, next topic, when will we get a decent movie based on a video game? My answer is never.
Oh, come on. Mortal Kombat was a decent movie
No, it
based on a
wasn't.
video game.
It was a watchable movie.
It was
I don't know if
a
it was up to
watchable
decent.
movie, but it
Decent.
wasn't.
No, it was totally decent. I mean, that movie was
Yeah, but
way
it
better
wasn't-
than some non-video game action movies. I mean, a lot of non-video game action movies, actually.
No, that.
Better than Shaolin Dolomite, and that's really all you need to know.
I plead the fifth.
So,
Claim you never saw
It had Talia Soto in it. I mean, that alone makes it better.
so basically, are we ever going to see a decent movie based on a video game?
Maybe this is part of this flip side of the same thing we are just talking about. And until we get video games that have, good characters and involving storylines, the movies that are based on them are starting from trash and working down.
I don't know. I'd actually like to
What'd
see
you just say
something
about
more-
Secrets Within?
I'd actually like to see something based on like one of the newer Odd Worlds that was maybe more computer generated or something ILM based. But,
But John does make a good point, is that the stories in the games to begin with aren't that strong, and so basing a movie on it is just...
you get a frail foundation to start with. You're
Yeah.
not really going to be able to put much in it.
Yeah,
Well-
I mean, Resident Evil, when you really break it down, doesn't have much of a story.
Yeah, it did
Oh
have
my
Mila
god,
Jovovich, though.
zombies, KKKK.
Yeah, but if it's a zombie movie, that's different. Because how hard is it to make a zombie movie, really?
Apparently very hard.
I don't know. I liked the Resident Evil movies. I thought they were good zombie movies.
I like the first one. The first one was a good
The
zombie.
second one's pretty funny,
The
too.
second one was just cheesy lame. I mean, the
Well-
only good part of it was stars.
Well, but it's another good point. There's a lot of bad movies based on video games, but there's also a lot of bad video games based on movies. I
But
mean,
we've
there's probably
had
more
actually-
video games that are bad that are based on movies than
But
the
we've
other way around.
had some good video games based on movies.
We've had two of them.
yeah,
We've had some.
Chronicles of Riddick and GoldenEye.
Yeah,
Riddick
but
was impressive.
so
I must say that was
in my
probably-
consideration,
Well,
that
and
means
both of
you're
those
one
games
movie
were-
ahead of my consideration of good movies based
Well,
on video
except
games.
also both of those video games were two of the best games of their generation. And Mortal Kombat is not something that I would put up in any
Yeah.
top 10 list.
Babality.
I put it at the top of the video games made from, or movies made from video games for sure.
Well, we'll
I mean,
add
it
a few
beats
more
Super Mario
conditions.
Brothers.
Yeah, Bob Hoskins and John Leguizamo as
Yeah.
the Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, that fits
Better than Street
perfectly.
Fighter.
And was it Dennis Hopper as
Yeah,
Bowser?
Bowser.
And I mean, how long ago was that when we never thought we'd see a decent comic book movie either? And we've actually had a couple of those now.
It depends on who you ask.
Well, that is true.
I personally would agree with you, but it depends on. There's a lot of people that would disagree with that.
Depends on the movie. Like Batman Begins, really good. Elektra, Cure for Insomnia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's going to be good and bad, but I mean, Batman Begins, was critically acclaimed, was an excellent film.
Except for the fight sequences.
Spider-Man was excellent,
Yes.
definitely popular. We've had some good ones out there.
Even Hulk was pretty decent. The ending, not so good, but at least...
I had some complaints with it, but, there was a Hulk.
yeah.
Well, they got one part right.
Takes one part Hulk.
Way to go,
two part
guys.
story.
Well, you did better than giant mechanical spider, so we can't really.
Yeah,
fault you.
Wow.
we're already on the boat for that one.
So, basically, our consensus is we'll only get a decent movie once we get a decent video game story, and that could take a while.
You know, it's part of the recipe.
Well, it's a different, like we were talking about. You know, I mean, there's a different thing that makes for a passable video game plot than for a passable movie plot. Because with a passable video game plot, you can say, ooh, I've got 17 plot points, and in between I can battle. You can't do that with a movie. You have to have a continuity of good storyline through the whole thing.
Yeah, there's a formula in a movie where you start out, you make characters, you create the plot, then you have a climax, and you come off the climax.
Even so, they could have made a fun-to-watch movie out of vampire battling Nazis.
Well, and
it's like
someday we hope someone will.
And maybe Dead Rising might sell 2 to 1 if the lead character was named Sean and he quipped little British quotes. But we don't know.
It's a far way to go for a joke there,
Yeah.
I was
on the
reaching,
block
but
and came over and did a little jump rope and then showed up with a joke.
Next topic, why are games becoming so big and complex and expensive to produce? And do they even have to be that expensive to make games?
It's the Hollywood blockbuster mentality.
They don't have to be, but I mean, there's always going to be those AAA titles that are trying to be the absolute best they can. And I mean, seriously, if you're doing...
You add on to that new R&D costs for new consoles, you got to learn all over again? My God.
They don't have to be. But
Yeah, they don't
they're
have
doing
to.
as much work as any blockbuster Hollywood film to build all the environments and animation, everything. Is there any surprise
And
it
there's
costs
more
as much?
writing on the game selling than there is the movie selling.
Yeah, but the problem is that they're spending the money and they're not getting the returns for it. I mean,
Well,
look at
that's exactly
EA's.
it. There's
Look
Have
at
you ever
EA's.
looked at the returns for blockbusters?
Godfather. They spent like $1 whole billion on it, and they still have yet to make any money off it.
Well, they also made a GTA clone.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, what do you want? I'll put this skin on top of something that already exists and then resell it and expect to make all
This
my money
game
back.
seems really familiar.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you take a look at how much money GTA is pulling in, I mean, it totally justifies these budgets.
Well, I bang a whore and take the cannoli.
Okay.
Well, it's just, literally, if you go to like one of the big revenue listing sites for blockbusters and you take a look at them, some ridiculous amount of movies, blockbusters, actually make money. Some ridiculously small. It's like 25% of them.
I thought it was even less than that. It was like,
it's
1 out of
tiny.
10 movies that they
Are
put out
you
make
talking
money.
about box office receipts, or are you talking after the fact? Because more movies like
Worldwide box office receipts.
Yeah.
Okay, because like Peter Jackson's King Kong didn't make the money in the box office, but it's making tons of money on DVD and everything else.
But even so, it doesn't change the argument that with games, we're taking the same business model as movies are. You make 10 of them, and one of them makes enough money to pay for all of them.
Yeah.
And
Instead of
break
making,
even.
sometimes,
Yeah.
on average.
And actually, as I understand the way tax law works, it's actually better for them to do that because a game that just breaks even is worse than one that they can write off the losses on and then pay for out of the blockbusters.
I have no problem believing that.
But, there's room for simpler games, too. Look at PopCap.
Yeah, and PopCap makes a ton of money.
And now they're going on to like Xbox Live Arcade, and
Wasn't there a story on ours or something about the return of the text-based story adventures or something like that? I saw it like today or yesterday or something, but
I don't remember seeing that one.
I have to look and see at that.
Okay. So next, our last game topic is Windows was to be on the Xbox 360, and this would have changed the market if they went forward with it.
Sure, we would have got more blue screens of death.
Instead we get the black screen of death.
Yeah. It'd just be a giant X.
It's probably because they don't check their ROMs at the beginning, because then it would be ROM okay and everything would be all good.
Yeah. No, we just turn on our Xbox 360 and it'd be like press F1 to continue because it doesn't detect a keyboard.
Memory size changed.
Yeah.
X-safe mode.
So while this does fit the same category as the Xbox handheld, and that we're never going to see it, it still is an interesting idea, and was one of the things they were experimenting with, that there was going to be a third SKU for the Xbox 360 that would cost more, would come with Windows. It would be a media center computer.
Well, in the end, I just don't think that would have been flexible enough with everything else.
Well, they would have had to put a bigger hard drive in it for sure.
Well, but I mean, having to rewrite all that stuff to make all the Xboxes work together and be able to get online and do the same things and talk.
But they already do that.
Yeah, but going to a Windows though.
I'm sure it
think
would
it would've
still
just
do
made
the
it more
same thing
complex
for
in the end,
gameplay.
though.
Well, it certainly would have made things more complicated.
But in the end result, you spend
like
all
they
that
don't
money
have
on
the
R&D.
resources
You
to it.
really don't
Yeah.
want to make things any harder than they have to be.
Well, you're talking
Why
about
not
a
go to
company that's
Universal?
got like $600 billion in cash reserves. I mean, if they wanted to do it, they could do it.
And then,
Now, if they could do it well, I don't know.
Yeah.
But if they wanted to try to do it, they could do it.
and I'd like to know why they didn't, though. I mean, it'd be interesting to know what the reasons were.
Maybe they didn't want to have a device that was exactly like the PlayStation 3. Was
I don't
trying
know.
to go for the exact same market.
And the only thing that immediately comes to mind for me is that it wouldn't be hardware compatible with PC software.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's
yeah.
that, and if people really want a Windows machine, they'll buy a computer.
And they'll probably get it cheaper.
Yeah, that's
The
true.
prices are dropping.
Yeah,
on
it would have been
PCs
interesting
right
to
now
know
like
what they were
crazy.
projecting for the estimated retail price for that version.
Yeah.
If it was somewhere in PS3 land or...
I'm sure it would have been at least a couple $100 more. So.
If you want to do that, buy a PS3.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah,
But-
if you want a media center,
Plop your
there's plenty of
$650 down.
there's plenty of options for getting a media center PC. That
Yeah, we will
connect
talk
to the
about
same
the George Foreman grill of consoles
time.
in a later episode.
Oh, there's also the whole thing with this that I think would be that I'm just as interested about Linux on the PS3 as I would have been for Windows on the Xbox 360. Is I really want to see a console homebrew market somewhere.
Yeah.
That's the kind of door that would make that possible.
Yeah, we haven't seen that big of a market since the GP32. And that's
Well-
basically what it was designed
Well,
for.
well,
If you were Korean.
Yeah. I mean,
Some people import
You're
it.
not?
It wasn't
I mean-
all that hard to go on their website.
I mean, technically, what was it? The first homebrew was the Net Yarose for the PS1.
That's the only place I can think of where there was official support for doing anything like that.
Yeah, and it basically came with a special PS1 that was region-free and some software for your computer and a little instruction booklet that says, we don't offer any support on this, so good luck!
But it was that some software part that's so valuable. I mean,
Yeah.
being able to get some SDKs for how to work with the hardware is so much better than, well, let's try and reverse engineer the hardware from scratch.
You think this might be Nintendo's angle by making their development kit so cheap?
No.
They'd have to
Nintendo
make
is
it
still...
way cheaper.
Nintendo does not care about getting any random schmo to put something on their console. Because Nintendo is still scared shitless that some kid is going to get on their console and hear the word fuck.
Yeah.
Well-
Someday it's going to happen. It's really going to...
It's already happened. You can hear it in Killer 7.
But
Well, yeah,
I mean,
Nintendo's
even
growing
so,
up a lot more, though, too.
but I mean, Nintendo really isn't about letting go of control of their system.
Yeah, Nintendo's pretty control
They're probably more
happy.
picky about what games come in and how they fit their system than anybody else out
You know,
I'm
you know-
sure they
you know,
want
that's
the
maybe we
independent
should
developers,
have
but they
that's
don't
actually
want
people
that
make games this
independent.
time.
You know what? Nintendo. You did mention that Nintendo seems to be a little bit more picky about what games they come out, but they're not as nearly as picky as Sony. I mean, Sony's like
more picky on a graphical sense, I think.
Well,
Well, they might have
Nintendo's
done
come
that,
a long
but
way from
also Sony
what they let
has-
come out.
The PS2 has like 8,000 games now. However picky there were, it wasn't that fine a filter.
yeah.
I really don't think.
And Nintendo should have been not picky at all and just released everything for the GameCube.
Well, yeah, I mean, there is that subset of people that go out and buy, game consoles, or their parents for that matter, that they go in and they look at the wall and they say, which one of these systems has the most games? I mean, and then there's Xbox and there's the GameCube and then there's
3 times the size.
the
PlayStation.
PS2. And it's like, oh, well, maybe for little Bobby, I'll buy the one that has the most games. And look, a lot of them are cheap too.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
There's a wide
it
variety of
eventually
games.
boils down to simple economics.
Or
Well,
the perception of the economics.
Yeah.
Third-party support completely drives console adaptation.
Well, look what the Game Boy's done. I mean, it's wiped out pretty much every other portable out there just from library alone.
Well, it's
And most of them are basically simple games.
It's exactly the same thing, though. I mean, you get third-party support, you've got more games, more people buy the console, it gets a larger market share, more third-party people develop for it.
Well, it makes sense, yeah. It made sense for one console. Apparently, they don't believe that in the bigger one, but
Wow.
they're a little too idealistic, maybe.
Yeah.
At least on the Wii.
So that's it for our game topics. Now we have a special feature. This is our most wanted games. So we're going to go over our most wanted games. And we have a top 5 to 7 list of games that we're most looking forward to. So how are we going to pick who goes first?
You. Lottery.
I say you.
Me. I'm going to do this from 5 to 1. 5, and they're all pretty much equal. So, my top 5. First one, Castlevania: Portrait of Ruin. No big surprise there. My fourth top 5 pick for most wanted game, Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess.
Yes, but which version?
You know what? I am really torn by which version I want to get. The GameCube version would be one just simply because I don't. What are you doing?
I'm tearing.
Because you were torn?
Oh.
Yeah.
It's kind of after the fact, so.
Yeah.
Our
So-
Foley is late.
He's post-torn.
So, yeah, between the GameCube version and the Nintendo version, I mean the GameCube and the Wii version, I'm
you
almost
wanna play
wanting the
with the Wii.
GameCube version because at least with the Wii version, I don't have to look like an idiot while playing it.
Well,
You're not going to be playing it out in front of your house, are you?
don't videotape it and leave it in the video camera when you
Yeah.
Cool.
But and also I
If you do
think
Super
what
Bowl.
my big reason with the Wii version is that because I haven't actually played with the system, that I'm not quite sure how it's actually going to function. So I'm kind of like, yeah. So
Have you decided if you're going to line up on launch day for a Wii?
I know I'll be picking one up, but I don't think it'll be launch day. I'm getting old. I'm getting too old to wait for systems.
Well, but if you don't have a Wii the same day as you have a GameCube.
I'm
Yeah.
buying into the hype. I'm looking forward to playing around with that
Yeah.
thing and doing something different.
It's
I don't
just a
know.
matter of just playing around with it and seeing how much I like it.
I think
You
it's
know
really
you're going to
just-
play with it. You're going to like it.
It's just going to give people tendonitis in different parts of their body.
Yeah.
Oh, I pulled something in the back of my thigh.
I'm going to laugh when we get the first lawsuit for a kid that does a diving leap into a desk and
Yeah.
cracks their skull open.
Yeah,
playing the thing.
I think physical activity and gamers are two things that just they don't go together. I mean,
It's
there's a
gonna be
reason
happening.
why gamers are sedentary because they don't have physical coordination.
Now, there's
But-
going to be like a 5-page idiot warning in the front of their manual.
It's
But
gonna have little pictures that say has some guy leaping towards a wall and an X through it.
well, and my thing with the Wii, and this is a little off topic, but seeing what the Wii can do, I only have
What
2
can
words.
the Wii do?
I was thinking it, but I just wasn't going to.
I mean, really, does Nintendo expect anybody to ever mention their console with a straight face?
You know, if you're talking from Nintendo's point of view, it's what can't the Wii do.
Well-
the Wii is mighty.
The only thing I'm going to say with the functionality of the controller, Bionic Commando. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, Bionic, you got part of that, right?
I'm not going
Commando is only if you're wearing the camos.
All right. So moving on,
Kids.
getting back to topic, my third top 5 game, Valkyrie Profile Samaria, is
Isn't
my
there?
third
Oh,
pick.
yeah.
You like the original?
Oh, I love the original. I consider Valkyrie Profile a very underrated role playing game. My second top 5, and this is one that Brian is interested in, Okami. Yeah, Okami looks like Win and God.
I
Honorable
think
Kami.
we've all got money down on that one
Yeah.
right now.
And my number 1 top 5 is Magical Vacation for the Nintendo DS, which is a 2D styled role-playing game for the Nintendo DS, and is actually made by Nintendo.
Gay?
yeah.
It looks very, very good.
Yeah. I know nothing.
What's it called? The
I
Magical
don't know,
Vacation?
Magical
I think
Vacation.
this brings us back to the Nambla thing we were talking about earlier.
Brian, would you like to share your top 5 or 7 or whatever?
I would love to share my top 5. Number 5, Okami. Yeah, that was a gimme. I super looking forward to that. It just looks pretty. It looks so pretty.
And, Clover Studio has already got a great track record for doing cool visual styles.
Yeah, this is just going to add to the resume. I'm really looking forward to Gears of War also. I think that looks another pretty looking game with just some amazing things you can do in there. And 2-player co-op
That'll
really
be
sells
cool.
it to me. Supreme Commander's got to be way at the top of the list for me. I'm a big TA fan going way back in the day. It really,
Tits and ass?
Well,
no,
that
Total
too.
Annihilation.
Oh.
But,
That too.
Well,
You can put them both
I
together.
can
you
totally
get them in the
annihilate
same
tits
DVD.
and ass, so...
there probably was a TNA map for TA.
They're-
Yeah.
Seems like a foregone conclusion, really.
Yeah, anyways. You can't go wrong with a sequel. Unofficial, but still a great sequel by probably what I consider to be the father of RTSs.
Well, not the father, but certainly the best to ever grace the field.
He's my father.
Oh.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's a mental thing. You just got to imagine it.
Does he just call him Daddy?
Yeah.
Daddy RTS, Daddy.
Daddy, I'm putting in the CD-ROM now.
I, too, am looking forward to Zelda Twilight Princess. That's definitely got to be. And I'm going to buy the Wii for it. I really want to enjoy just the game that much more. I think it's going to add to it. You know, Nintendo does these little things, and they sound way out in left field when they originally come out with it. But in the end, I really think they tend to add to the games in the end.
I don't know. Maybe if the Wii gives you the ability to shove that controller up Tinkle's ass.
Who's going
There's going to be a special add-on for that.
I think this is the homebrew market you're talking about again.
Make tinkle. Game 5 for me has to be Crysis. I'm so looking forward to Crysis. Just after all the time I enjoyed with Far Cry.
Hope you enjoy buying a new computer as
well, I'm going to be buying a new computer prior to that anyway, so it's kind of a given. But Far Cry was just, I played the crap out of the beta for Far Cry. I absolutely loved it. My clan loved it. We played it all the time, and when we got to actually play the game, it was just so much better. So after seeing Crysis in motion, I'm just sold on it.
For the insane system requirements that will be no doubt be. There was a thing on ours today about SLI on one card. And you could,
why did they make it?
So you could put a dual SLI. You could have a quad SLI board with two cards.
Christ.
Was that when they were talking about AMD's new coherent hypertransport things that you could have two dual core processors and a quad SLI solution?
It could be, but coherent hypertransport sounds like something that's going to result in a transporter incident.
That or instant warp drive.
So that's how the inverse tachyon.
Starbase, please increase your power.
And also, I had getting back to the game list. I had 2 runners up, and that'd have to be Guitar Hero 2 and God of War 2. Those are definitely sold. I mean, I only picked the top 5 I did because they're new games coming out. I'm really looking forward to, but the sequels are going to be guaranteed in my mind too.
Top of my list is Guitar Hero 2.
Not a big surprise.
Yeah, well, you know. Have we heard any more songs for that, by the way?
Not yet.
Steve likes the axe.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, John, your top most wanted games?
My list takes a little different tack here. Seriously, everything that Brian mentioned there, I'm totally excited about, and I'm sure I'm going to buy them when they come out. But they're not actually the ones that are at the top of my list because, well, they're too far away for me to be getting too excited about yet. Right now, I think some of the weirder stuff that I'm looking out for and hoping we get to see. There's Okami. It's coming out soon. We want it yesterday.
Soul American.
One that is kind of a weird one on here is Trauma Center Second Opinion. Trauma Center Under the Knife for the DS is actually the one game that I really want to play on the DS, though I don't have one yet. And the same idea on the Wii makes a lot of sense to me. It's one of the only ones I've seen that I really like what they're doing with the controller functionality, and I think it'll work.
An original game concept ever since Life and Death.
Yeah, I mean, there was, Emergency Room.
Yeah.
Let's see. Looking forward to Disgaea 2.
Yeah.
If they have the same quality of writing that they have on Disgaea, I'm just going to love it. I mean, that was one of the funniest games I have ever played. And that's almost entirely for Etna's intermission between chapters. If you played it, you know what I mean.
Yes.
There's one that it's long overdue, is Red Star. Do you remember this one? It came out on a PS2 demo disc, almost at launch, a long time ago. It lost its publisher, and it's finally going to come out.
Talk about patience.
It's a beat-em-up set in an alternate history with, communist Russia. How can it not be cool?
Well, I could think of it.
The only way it could be cooler is if it had Nazis. I mean, really.
Maybe they'll be the villains. I don't know. But the demo was great. I really enjoyed it. I've been waiting for this game for 4 years now, so it's about time. Another one that got unnecessarily delayed, in my opinion, is Disaster Report 2. Do you want to give a shot at the Japanese title?
No.
Okay.
It's very long, complicated, and written with like 5 or 6 kanji, and I don't have it in front of me right now, so ain't gonna happen.
Even if he had it, there's no guarantee you can pronounce it.
Yeah.
This one was it was supposed to come out last year, but they actually delayed it because it deals with floods and the disaster of a major flood in a city. And the original release date was right around when we had, this tsunami thing happen. So they pushed it back a little bit. It came out 3 months ago in Japan, and still hoping that we'll get a U.S. release for this one.
Mother Nature's screwing gamers the world over.
The first one is one of my favorite games that nobody played. So looking forward to the sequel there. That's the 5, but there's also 2 others that I wanted to mention that are like my forlorn hopes. They're the ones that, I wish would have come out, but doesn't seem to be any chance of it now. We were talking about Twinkle Star Sprites before.
Yeah.
And that's when I had money down for, totally wanted, and now we're not going to see the U.S. release, which makes me sad. And the other one is Reckless 2. Came out in Japan as Double Steel, the Second Clash. And this was just a weird game to start with. I mean, it was like a cross between a driving game and a platformer. And I liked it. I played through it. I had fun with it. I was looking forward to the sequel. And it's been out for a year in Japan. There doesn't seem to be any interest in porting it here to the U.S.
Time to get a Japanese PS2.
Oh, Xbox, sorry.
Is it Xbox?
Yeah.
Time to mod your Xbox.
I don't know. I mean, since they only sold like 20 of them last week in Japan, right?
Shouldn't be that hard to
markdown
find.
sales.
You wait
right?
long enough, you can probably get one used.
Yeah, but you'll make up the price just getting it modified.
I swear to God, I could sell more just walking around the streets selling them than that.
So, all right. Well, that is our list of the most wanted games from all of us. Next, we're going to have our new feature.
Feature!
It's called Gamer Under a Rock, and
Brought to you by Cowbell.
yes. And the basic premise of this is that Steve is a gamer who
Lapsed.
doesn't really play a lot of games.
Lapsed
I'm
gamer.
a lapsed gamer.
Yeah.
Played a lot more when nobody else was playing games.
You're not up on your membership dues.
No, I'm not at all.
So Steve's kind of behind the curve, but he'll give us a review of a game that has been out for a while that everyone else has seemed to play, and he's just now getting around to.
Pretty much.
So,
Because it's cheap.
yeah, because it's cheap now. So, Steve, tell us about the game tell us about the game you played. Yes, the game.
How about you tell us about Cowbell?
Well, Cowbell's pretty cool. It's used a lot by hair metal bands and late. Okay, I reviewed or I played KILL.SWITCH on the Xbox, and KILL.SWITCH is a kind of a third-person, over-the-shoulder action shooter type thing. And
Pew, pew.
yeah, a lot of that. I mean, there's not a lot of thought process in this game, really. You kind of there's a couple of cutscenes that kind of loop and kind of make you try and care about what the hell the character's doing. And there's some mysterious, there's some mysterious voiceovers about control and how, you get the impression that this guy's had his memory wiped and, he's fighting through because he's being controlled by this ulterior force through some sort of mental link. I really failed to care after like the second or third level. I mean, it was pretty much, there was guys running around shooting at me, and I wanted to shoot back at them because they were hurting me.
So it turned on your kill switch?
Yeah, exactly. Which I also thought that they really should have gotten the band KILL.SWITCH Engage to do this, do the soundtrack for this, because it would have been perfect.
Apropos.
It probably would have broken their budget, however. Because the game, not very long. And I actually, got to be honest, I got to the last level, and several things kept me from actually having motivated enough to finish the game. First of all, checkpoints. If you die anytime during the levels, which aren't very short, you go to the beginning of the level and do everything over again.
Yeah.
And, well, okay, I realize that this could be great for people that really are, they get addicted to getting into going through the game perfectly for a level and surviving. Quite frankly, the fourth or fifth time I have to shoot the guy behind the desk at the beginning of the level, I'm just not all that interested anymore. The game's not very long, And so I realized that this is how they're making this game last more than 7 hours, is making you play through the game every time you die. But it really detracted from me, having to do it over again when I really, I got killed 5 feet before the end of the level by a guy with a turret who was around a corner. Obviously placed so that I would have to do the game over again.
Well, why did you run into him the 5th time?
Well, because I was trying to figure out where he was, really. I mean, I couldn't see. That was the other thing, too. I mean, looking around the corner, I physically can look around the corner better than this guy could. He really seemed to have too acute of a around the border thing, But moving on from checkpoints. I got grenaded through walls a little bit more than I would have liked to. I mean, come on. It's 2006. Collision detection was pretty much finished in, asteroids. So really, I think that area effect. Plus, the thing that really pissed me off is I get grenaded through walls, but then you got the guy with the armored turret that he's firing, and if I toss the grenade in front of the sandbags, that are only 3 or 4 tall in front of him, he yet still survives. And that was really annoying. Though I can shoot him from behind his little tripod thing. So, really annoying. Weapons, there's 7 different kinds of assault rifles that, other than the big tripod-mounted one that really should be on a tripod anyway, they are all more or less the same. There's no difference in the weapons. There's barely a difference in the grenades. Some of them have a little bit bigger blast rates than the others. The flash grenades, I gotta say, were pretty damn useful. But they didn't really seem to last that long. So when you're you toss out the flash grenade, it lasts 5 seconds, which is totally less than it would be in real life. I mean, people would be just sitting on the ground holding on their heads, and I should be able to run up and shoot them. But 5 seconds after the flash grenade goes off, they're shooting at me again. Not as effective as I would have liked them to be. And my pet peeve, when I load up the thing after I load up a save game when I'm starting at the time, I can't skip that cutscene.
Yeah.
You can't skip you can skip the little ones that are in the game when the engine starts up and you're coming in and controls talking to the guys, whatever. But the ones where he's flashing back to the girl on the balcony and everything, you can't skip them. And they get progressively longer as this game goes on. So the first one, okay, it's 5 seconds and you see her, and the next one's 7 seconds because he saw a little bit more of what he's remembering. But if getting to the end of the level, it's 15 seconds long, and you've seen it 4 or 5 times already because you've come back to the game. I don't want to see it again. Let me skip it. That's all I want.
Yeah. It's little things like that make a game great.
And my final little pet peeve, when you're going up to use a panel or something, you have to exactly face the panel in order to use it. I mean, I'm standing next to it. I think my guy's pretty smart enough to turn around and just use it,
Just be glad you don't have to actually drive a hand over there and push the button.
Yeah.
Hello, Jurassic Park.
The guy's probably trying to look around while he's doing it anyways, so he's not going to be standing necessarily dead in front of it, but he's going to be looking, watching his back.
That, and the one thing I just thought about now is they seem to provide you with exactly the wrong type of ammo for the guns that you start at the beginning of the level. I know you can pick up other guns from people and stuff, but I can't count the number of times that I'm using an AKU and all that's around is AKGs.
So drop the AKU.
Really, yeah. Of course, but I've already got one. But and I've already got 150 rounds for it. So I don't know. Am I supposed to rate these things or just review them?
Was there anything you liked about the game at all?
There was a lot of fodder. There was guys running around, and there was easy enough to shoot. And I of course always have a problem with the whole tank control type thing going on. I'm getting better at it, but not as good as I would like to be. So that probably contributed to more of me.
That one wasn't tank controls.
Yeah, it was move around with this one and aim with this one.
As
you have
Steve
to use both joysticks, but it wasn't like Resident Evil where...
Well, no, it was a little bit better than that, but it's still essentially, aim with
when
one.
When people say tank controls, what they mean is when you press right, instead of your character going right, they turn right.
Well, yeah. This is just better linked tank controls.
Keep in mind that Steve is a gamer under a rock.
So,
5 being the best.
It seems like a tank to me. I don't know.
1 being the worst, what would you rate this?
I would put it, I'd say a 6.5 or so. I enjoyed it.
From 1 to 5.
I didn't hear 1 to 5. Well, then scale it down, so 3.75. You know, I mean, it really.
1 being the lowest, 5
Yes,
being
the highest is 3.75. I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't only $10.
Okay.
There you go.
I should add a couple of things on top of this. For one, because I really like this game.
Well, John is no longer a reliable source of gaming.
But one thing that makes this one worth taking a look at is the control scheme for this is essentially what we're going to be seeing in Gears of War. It definitely has this. The cover mechanics are really interesting, and as far as I know, have only been used in a couple of other games like Winback, and have never been done as well, except as in KILL.SWITCH. So
the cover system was definitely the highlight of the game. You know, it definitely was. You know, being able to sit behind and actually now. If you're going to use the cover thing, really, you probably shouldn't be able to see around the corner when your guy can't see around the corner. So that kind of distracts from the realism. I mean, if I have my back up against the wall and the camera's looking past me and I can see around the corner from the camera, it probably should be shifted over. But on the other hand, if I can hide behind the wall and see where the guy is and my cursor and then just peek around and pick him off and then come back in, that was really helpful. The whole blind firing thing, not so helpful.
Okay.
might have helped you with that turret.
Next, we're going to go into our game reviews, and I have a new game review. I'm going to be talking about New Super Mario Brothers for the Nintendo DS.
So you're one of those mushroom-loving folks, huh?
Yeah.
I hear this one has 2 1-up, infinite 1-up areas.
Actually has more than 2.
More than 2. My God, they're spreading.
But first, let me go through the storyline. It's a very complex and detailed storyline.
Were you emotionally attached?
Well, can you just give us is it shorter or longer than Quake's?
Shorter.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Princess has been kidnapped. Rescue the princess.
Your mission, should you choose to accept it.
Yeah.
I guess that is about a quarter of the Quake storyline.
Yeah. So basically, Bowser Jr., not the big Bowser, but Bowser Jr.,
After escaping Mario Party.
yeah, has kidnapped Princess Toadstool, and as Mario, you have to rescue her, so stop me if this sounds familiar.
Is she in another castle?
No.
Princess Toadstool's bodyguards really suck.
Well, it's those Toad guys, man. I mean,
They're like half her size, man.
Yeah.
They gotta stand
Need more of them.
They need to stand one on top of the other and put an overcoat on to be intimidating.
So basically with this Mario, it is your standard Mario formula. So run, jump. They did add a few interesting things to the title. First thing is with the power-ups, you get your normal mushroom, as obviously. You get your fire flower. You also get a turtle shell, and Mario actually puts on a blue turtle shell on his back. And if you get up enough speed, you actually turn into a turtle shell that will bounce back and forth through levels, which is kind of interesting if you can control it. Because it's very hard to stop once you're in the turtle shell form.
Can you still jump while you're turtle shell?
Yes, you can. Which makes for very interesting platforming. It also allows you to swim faster underwater while you're in it. It does have advantages in the fact like there are some areas where if there's not a turtle around, you can get enough speed and bash your way through blocks, or being able to outrun large giant fishies that will, bite your butt.
Sounds scary.
Yes. And then the other, there's 2 other power-ups. There is the mini mushroom, which is actually half the size of the super mushroom, and it will shrink you to half your size. So if you're already small, if you're small Mario, you actually become half of small Mario's size. You are incredibly vulnerable. Everything will kill you. However, you can jump about 3 times fast, 3 times higher, 3 times further, and you have the ability to walk on water.
Even though you're 1/4 the size.
Yeah,
So
because
it's-
you're lighter.
Jesus, Mario.
And also there's also smaller pipes and smaller entrances that you can only get into if you're that mini Mario. There's also secret levels that you can get to only by being mini Mario. The last power up is the Super Mega Ultra Mushroom. Is basically this huge mushroom that when you get it turns you into Mario that's about I'd say about 3/4 of the screen tall.
Or are you just hallucinating? You're
No.
After all those flowers and
Dude, my hand
shrooms.
is huge.
And basically, the only advantage of that Mario is that the more things you smash and break, there's a meter at the top, and the more stuff you can break, the more 1-ups you'll earn. And when you actually become this Super Mega Mario, you can literally break pipes. The pipes that come out of the ground, you can just knock them over.
So
all the blocks in your
Mario
way.
to get in there when you can just break the pipe,
Well,
Mario smash.
The thing is, though, that Mario is very limited. It's on a timer, so you can only have it for a certain amount of time. It's like the star.
Ah, okay.
So the only other things...
The drugs always wear off too
yeah.
fast.
The only other things that they've added is that you can now do a triangle jump, where if you push to the side of a wall, and if you hit the opposite direction, you can actually cling off the walls and do
all a Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, all a Ninja Gaiden
Does he get
jump.
ninja stars too?
No, and then
he spits fireballs from his eyes.
And then the other
Find bullets.
The other move that he has is that he can do a ground pound, where if you jump and then you press down, he'll actually pound with his butt. And there's actually secret passages or blocks that you can break by using that technique. As far as the levels go, this is standard Mario fare. So, forest level, watery levels, beach level, underground levels, ice, you name it, it's there.
Still no strip club level.
No. And the game, though, is actually fairly challenging once you get past the first couple of levels. And in each level, there's 3 golden coins. And if you get those golden coins, you can actually use the golden coins to purchase different pathways to get to other levels in the game. So it plays like kind of Super Mario Brothers 3, where you can open up different levels.
Alternate routes.
Yeah. Now, 1-ups in this game come freely. They flow like water.
Yeah,
so
you kind of need them in certain
you can
areas.
easily get 99 lives without too much problems. And it's very, very difficult to have to continue in this game.
It's pretty much like, just finding the drugs and smashing the rocks.
Yeah. So in the end, it's a very solid Mario title. They didn't really change much to it. They didn't really change a lot of the formula. But, you figure if it ain't broke, you don't need to fix it. So in the end, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It is a very solid game. I would recommend it for anyone that has a Nintendo DS as a nice distraction. Not the most original of games, but it is still a lot of fun.
What does it give you for? Can you save mid-level or anything?
The way saving works is that the more coins you get, you can actually open up various mushroom houses to get power-ups and other things, and the game will automatically save. Or every time that you clear a castle, you can save. When you beat the game, a new option will open up that will allow you to save anywhere in the game.
Huh. So you just have to beat it once, and then it's good for a mobile game.
Well, yeah, but it's really not that hard.
Well, I'm not saying hard.
Yeah.
It's just,
It's not that hard to
seriously,
get to
I
a
get
save
annoyed
point.
with games where you have to play for half an hour to get to the
No,
next save point.
it's
when
not
you're on a
even. It's
mobile
not even
system.
that. It's like 10 minutes. So, moving on, we have our classic game reviews. So, John, you have our next review?
I do. Well, this is a classic game review. It's sort of classic. We're talking about the Dreamcast, which is having its recent resurgence, at least as far as IGN is concerned.
For some reason that is yet to be defined.
Dreamcast, how do I love thee? Let me count the ways.
We have empty space on our web server. What should we put there? Dreamcast sounds good. Okay.
Well, they could always fix File Planet.
Well, no.
Well, they went around to deleting the N-Gage and Gizmodo sections. So they had to put something up there.
This gaping hole, otherwise the whole website falls down.
Okay, we've cleared up a meg.
I wouldn't exactly say it was a gaping hole.
Well, they still have the reserve space for the Phantom console. Maybe they're tapping into that.
So the game I'm going to talk about is called OMIKRON, the NOMAD SOUL. This game came out in '99, I believe. OMIKRON, the NOMAD SOUL is from Quantic Dream, which is a name you might know from a recent release, Indigo Prophecy. They are definitely developing a track record for interesting storytelling. And it's actually because of Indigo Prophecy I went back and picked this one up and took a look at it. The basic story for it takes an unusual tact for trying to draw you into the game. Basically, a character pops up on the screen and says he needs you to possess his body to be able to save his world. So, this impassioned plea. And when you do, you take control of his body, you're dropped into the world, and then a demon pops up and tries to suck your soul. Fortunately, a giant robot comes to your rescue. It's not even Japanese.
That's how that always works.
Not really far from it.
I really don't know how strange this is. Isn't that how all your plots go?
But then, your soul is basically in this world, and after you get through the intro part of the game, you gain the ability to transfer your soul into other characters in the world. So you can basically change characters. And that's a useful mechanic in a lot of ways, because not only does it let you change your appearance after you commit some criminal act in one body, but it can also be used for puzzle solving or just to get more stuff as you go and raid their apartments.
This would be a useful life skill.
Wouldn't it, though?
Yeah.
There's this very unusual plot line going on behind the scenes about demons and soul-sucking and dimension hopping that I can't talk about at all without completely ruining. But suffice it to say, you haven't seen this one before. As for gameplay, it's interesting. This game came out about a year before GTA 3. And this is notable because it is a 3D game with a large free-roaming city that you can move around in, with stores that you can walk into, just random stuff going on, hop in a car. Don't get to hijack them, but go in a bar, talk to whoever's there. It has a number of things built on top of this free roaming layer. At its heart, it's an adventure game. You're going around, you're talking to people, you're getting quests, you're collecting items, you're applying them in the right way. It also has 2 different combat modes on top of it, which unfortunately aren't very good. There's a first-person shooter component, which has the worst control layout ever developed by man or dog or penguin. It's just that bad.
I don't know. Penguins make some pretty bad FPSs.
There's a fighting game, which is passable but not great.
Like the one in Shenmue.
No, Shenmue's was better.
Oh.
This one's about Mortal.
Unfortunate.
Well, this one's about Mortal Kombat level, and that abusing the foot sweep is the way to victory.
Ooh. Yeah. Thank you, Midway.
There's a number of different side things you can do, side quests that you can encounter, and there's a bunch of optional quests that you can take too, so that you can choose to go a violent route or a non-violent route, or if you happen to know how everything works because you're playing through it again, you can take some shortcuts through areas because you know how everything ought to play. Honestly, I can't think of anything else quite like this game. And it's definitely an unusual tack for an adventure game to make it free roaming. And the closest you're going to get is Indigo Prophecy after this. The presentation of the game is lacking. There definitely not a lot of technological wizardry going on here. We are talking about the Dreamcast. And they were trying really hard to get massive scale, so we got, crummy, blockish looking buildings. There's, one car and one motorcycle. That's all you see on the street.
Probably watered down.
People have, cubes for heads.
Hey, you, blockhead! Yeah, you!
So basically they used the Nintendo 64 way of modeling a city.
What you're really saying is GTA is a variation on a theme here.
A more successful one.
The sound design was better. The voice acting is
better
good.
Shooting.
That makes up for a lot because you can really get to know the characters and get some emotion out of them, even though they look like, cubes.
Emotionally detached cubes.
The sound is interesting. Not so much for the sound effects, but the music. They actually got David Bowie to do many of the songs for the game.
There's where the budget went.
Hello, China girl.
And not only did they get David Bowie to do the music, but there are sections in the game where you can go to bars and see this fictional band perform, which is him singing. And they also got him to do motion capture work. I have no idea why.
Guess he wasn't busy.
I don't understand.
And they had the budget for it.
Well, they had a budget, not after him.
Yeah.
Maybe this was back when rock stars were just really into computers and video games. And
It could
Revolution
be.
X.
I mean, I don't remember the commercials, but I would be willing to bet that on them it had David Bowie in big letters somewhere.
Probably. Assuming there were commercials.
Well, dare you give this a rating?
Yeah.
Well, so the good parts of the game, I mean, it's a unique gameplay. It's an interesting story. The downside, well, it's an adventure game, so there's always the challenge of getting stuck somewhere. Though this one's pretty good for that. Doesn't have a lot of nonsensical puzzles like, any given Roberta Williams game.
So you're a big fan of the Quest series, are you, John?
Not fond of
Hey,
Phantasmagoria,
I love Space
huh?
Quest.
Nobody's a fan of Phantasmagoria. So, I have 16 discs. They're all FMV. Buy me.
But honestly, if you were looking at this game now, I'd say go get Indigo Prophecy because it's a much better game and the same kind of ideas. If you've played that one, you're still curious about Quantic Dream, this would be a good one to pick up. So I'd go ahead and give this one a 3 out of 5 so that basically if you're already interested in the idea, you'd have fun with it. But don't bother if it doesn't already sound interesting.
Yeah, plus it won't kill you in the wallet range. It's like a cheapo title now?
Well, it's an old Dreamcast title. Pick it up off eBay for $10.
Yeah.
Is there Dreamcast titles you can find that aren't cheapo titles?
Yes.
Like what?
Border Down.
Yeah, Border Down.
Ikaruga.
Yeah. Yeah.
Games that normal people would want to play?
No, it's the shooters and 2D fighters that the Dreamcast really got to be known for that are the pricier ones.
Yeah. So, next I have a classic game review. I'm going to be talking about Sin and Punishment for the Nintendo 64. And this is kind of an obscure title. First of all, this game is developed by Treasure, one of our favorite video game developers.
Word.
And
they often make very good games.
Yes, they do.
And many too few of them.
Yeah. Well, one game every 2-3 years, that's okay.
No, I mean the print run for the game is always too small.
Yeah.
That's why their games are worth so much money you can't frickin' find them anymore.
Yeah. For those of you who aren't too familiar with Treasure, they were an offshoot of Konami, and they worked on games like Bucky O'Hare, if anyone remembers that title, and Contra, the Alien Wars, and then they decided to just go off and make their own games, and started out with games like Alien Soldier, Gunstar Heroes, Dynamite Headdy, and just went on from there. For those who like Ikaruga and Radiant Silvergun, that's the company. So anyway, Sin and Punishment is I guess the best way to describe it is a action platformer with an Akira bent. There's a bunch of young children who are stuck in this post-apocalyptic setting, and it takes place in Tokyo, Japan. And all these children have psychic abilities, and basically it's kind of, the way to describe the gameplay is it's kind of like a shooter on rails, kind of along the same lines of Rez. The way it works is that you'll start off on a level, and the screen will start to automatically move. And you can move left or right, or you can jump or whatever. You have a melee weapon, which is a sword, which you just tap the button very quickly. If you hold down the button, your sword actually turns into a gun, and you can actually shoot all the things from the sky. And you also have a lock-on, and you have a free-roaming sight where you can just aim freely to aim wherever you want, or you can actually use the lock-on, and it'll just lock on to the closest enemy that it finds. Every 99 enemies that you kill, you'll actually receive a continue. Now, you'll start off in like just a field, and you'll just get used to the controls and how they work, and then the story will evolve. And for a Japanese game, the story is completely in English, dubbed with English actors and actresses with Japanese subtitles. And the story still makes no sense. Yeah. And the story makes absolutely no sense. Because you watch the game and it's like, well, their psychic powers are greater than ours. And then suddenly this giant robot comes out of the water and Tokyo is suddenly is flooded in a sea of blood. And I'm like, well, huh?
I could see how that would...
Yeah, and the story makes really no sense. But that's not where we were playing it. We're playing it for the storyline. We're not playing for the storyline. We're playing it for the gameplay, and the gameplay is excellent. It is very treasure-like, so very intense, very quick, and you need to be on top of it at all times. And if you blink or sneeze, you may die. You have to be really on top of your game for this one.
It's a hard game.
Yeah, it is a very hard game, but it's got very simple gameplay, and it's very easy to pick up. But the depth that is beyond it, which seems to be a signature for a lot of treasure games, it's very in depth.
This was a hard title to come by originally.
Yeah, it is. It is
second
one
to
of the
last game that was put out for the N64, and it just went for buku bucks for a while there.
Yeah, I think the game still goes for like $60, $70 right now. So Sin and Punishment, graphically, it's a typical Nintendo 64 controller. So you get those kind of weird, flat, muted type of polygon shading. I don't quite know how to describe it, but if you've seen enough Nintendo 64 games, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Kind of a dusty-looking game. Music is okay. It's not anything that's memorable, but gameplay is where it's at, and that's what's most important. So the rating on this, I'm going to give a 4 out of 5. It is a very solid action game, but incredibly difficult. And graphically, nowadays, it's kind of dated. It doesn't look as good as it could. But like I said, it's the gameplay that really, really makes it a great game. Our last review is for a piece of hardware that Brian was able to procure from a Target. So, Brian, please tell us about the Nintendo DS Lite.
Well, I was one of the lucky few to get the Nintendo DS Lite. Keep in mind, I never had an original NDS, but played a friend of mine's and came to the conclusion it was pretty much a brick.
Would that friend like to raise his hand?
Yeah. The friend is in this room, yes.
Yeah, let's see. Which one of us owns a Nintendo DS? I guess that would be me.
In any case, I got to play it. I did like the DS. It was just a little too heavy, a little too bulky, and I think that's really where the Lite came from, was they just wanted to shape it down, kind of tone it down, improve on the screen a little bit, and kind of give it this almost heavenly look. It's weird. It's almost at first sight, it looks like it's porcelain, and it almost feels that way too, but when you open...
could put a lowercase I in front of it if you're trying to describe the style.
Yeah. Except there's no black version that costs $150.
Yeah. It kept all the same basic concepts of the NDS, the speakers, the dual speakers facing you. It gives off good sound. The screens are definitely improved upon the old system. The buttons really, for the most part, are handy. They're not inconvenient. They're not hard to use. The D-pad may be a little bit smaller, but really isn't that awkward. It's a full D-pad. It's not broken up in any way, so you can utilize it pretty well. All the buttons, the power button, the volume button, they're all not too large to get in your way or for you to hit accidentally, but just large enough for you to be able to feel and move when you need to turn them on or adjust. One downside, you will have to buy a new rumble pack other than the one that came with Metroid, because the Metroid one actually sticks out almost a good half-inch. And they did announce they were making a rumble pack that's going to be smaller. It should fit the Lite. I haven't seen a date for this yet, but for those that are picky, don't want it sticking out too much, you can pick that up. It's going to be reasonably priced.
It'll be the same for any GBA game that it'll stick out.
I don't know. Overall, I'm just really impressed by the system. I've gotten to play it for about a day now, and I absolutely love Metroid Pinball on there. It really fully utilizes both screens and doesn't necessarily use a stylus, which is nice. I don't think the stylus is a necessity for most games. But the system is definitely worth it, and it's definitely worth the $130 price tag. I have seen on some websites that certain retailers are going to be carrying only package deals where you have to spend $200 plus, if you can avoid it, you really don't need the package deal. I think just buying the core system is enough and getting the games. So it doesn't come with a headphone set, but it does have a separated section where you can plug in a headphone or an adaptable headphone mic combo that allows you to put on a headset mic, it looks like.
Which apparently Nintendo will sell at some point.
Yes.
Is that for the mic, or is it just going to have like a little control puck for like volume or something like the PSP does?
Well, if you look at the bottom, it actually shows a headphone set with a mic port hanging off of it.
Huh.
So I believe it's actually going to use a PC-type mic where you actually have the
So you could chat again with somebody across the room from you.
Yeah, this is probably only going to be useful either with chatting or maybe online games, but even in that would be kind of nice.
Now, one thing about the Nintendo DS that is worth mentioning, other than the fact that the actual speakers are a little bit smaller, is that some games use voice recognition, or you can actually blow into a microphone and bubbles will appear or whatever. The mic input on the old Nintendo DS was actually on the bottom, but now it's right here. The mic input's in the center.
It's actually on
between
the pivot.
the two screens. And also what I noticed is that the screens are a little bit larger, but they're also closer together. There's actually a smaller gap between the two.
That's probably from the system actually being shrunken down, too.
But also keep in mind that with the original Nintendo DS, some games were designed with that gap in mind. So when the gap becomes smaller, some games may not look as accurately as they could, just simply for the size difference.
Wow, screw.
Well, I mean,
It's not
I don't
a
think it's
huge
going to be
difference,
that much
though.
of a difference where you're going
No.
to notice it.
You're probably
I think it's
talking
very
like an eighth of an
negligible.
inch, maybe.
Yeah, when I looked at Metroid Prime, I think it's like a couple millimeters where it's just off just a little, but it's so not noticeable, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, and if you didn't have an original NDS,
You're not going to notice anyway. So, do you want to do a rating on this? Or?
Have you run the battery down on it yet?
No. In fact, I actually charged it, and it only took 2 hours to charge. But it states in the manual, given all settings being constant, it can run between 15 and 19 hours straight. On battery time.
Yeah, that's about what I get on my Nintendo DS.
That's an impressive thing. I mean, anything over 10 hours kind of blows my mind, but 15 to 19, I'm definitely impressed.
Yeah,
by
that's
that.
about what I average.
Okay.
Why are you saying it that way?
10. I don't remember the last time I believed the battery number that the manufacturer gave.
You don't need to believe the battery number. I have proof.
Yeah, take it from him. He plays enough of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I give it a 5 out of 5, really. I'm overly impressed by it, and it's just very clean, concise. It's not bulky like the original. It's toned down, and everything was done correctly with it, I think.
It's
Okay.
not fugly anymore either.
Yeah, it really is pretty.
All right.
It looks very
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, do we have anything else to add before we end this podcast?
Sounds like a no.
I don't get any type of witty banter or anything like that. No.
We're out of banter. We're low on banter.
What
loser
about,
is you.
How about that Nintendo cock?
Cock goes where?
You got cock with your wee.
I'll think of
I got
something
nothing.
interesting.
Oh,
for the
we
next
also
show.
need to say that you should also go to www.negative-zen.com because that's my plug for today.
Yeah, that is Steve's webcomic, which is updated on various occasions.
I try for Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
How's that working out for you?
Well, so far, I had a Wednesday, Friday, and Monday.
Well, that's close.
And then before that, I had a Friday.
Oh, okay.
And then, yeah.
Yes.
So better than Image Comics used to be.
I update more than 95% of Comic Genesis users. How's that?
Let's not say much.
Well, yeah, pretty much once.
Yeah.
You're over 90%.
So Steve's webcomic will be linked through our website if you do want to check it out. So anyway, let me do the closing bit here. You've been listening to Diehard Gamer Radio. As always, you can listen to us at diehardgamerradio.com. You can also email us at diehardgamerradio@gmail.com. You can also listen to us on Podcast Alley and allpodcasts.com. So from Brian, John, Steve, and myself, you are now listening to four guys who know a lot about games, but not a lot about anything else.